Hello again, friends, and welcome to another fine edition of 151. My name is Adam, and I am joined by a man who jokingly started this whole Tide Pod and condom snorting challenge thing. He did it as a joke, never thought once that it would take off the way it did.
Right. I'm embarrassed.
His name is Justin.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, thanks. Your whole vibe thing for season 3 is...
Well, you know.
You brought upon that. How stupid you
I am Usador the Wizard!
You think Usador's ever snorted a condom?
No. Not
At what
so
point
much.
did someone go, hey, let's snort condoms? That should be a good time.
It's like eating soap. I mean...
Yeah, none of it makes sense to me.
Right.
And I may have just gotten to a point where I'm too old.
Kids are idiots.
I just... Did we ever do something like... What was the equivalent when we were a kid?
We didn't have anything that stupid. We had bad hair, and... Oh, I'll tell you what was that stupid. Heating up the lighters and doing that. I knew people who had done that.
Okay.
That was idiotic.
Okay. You just wrecked my headphones.
Oh, good.
We're 151. We're presented by Skeleton Vineyards. You can find out more about them on their website, skeletonwines.com, or on Facebook at Skeleton Vineyards. We'll have that information at the bottom of the page. As for us, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, all at 151 The Show. And you can find us on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. We hope that you subscribe to our channel. And, of course, there's always the easy way, 151theshow.com.
Yes.
So that was it? That was the lighter thing was the only thing?
I think so. We're pretty well connected for a couple of guys who just did the podcast version. Get off my lawn, you kids!
I know. I'm trying to think of what the equivalent was.
But we're not on Snapchat and Instagram and all the.
Have you touched the Tumblr
cool
page in a while?
Kids. So the thing about
what you're saying.
The thing about the Tumblr page is we had 4 followers and 3 of them were bots. So I really haven't updated that in a while. No.
Okay.
Nobody was following us on Tumblr.
Hey, did you see how well I'm doing with Twitter?
No.
Yeah. Almost 5,000 followers.
Oh, awesome.
And your boy Chunt is one of them.
Chunt with 6 T's. Yes.
God. Anyways.
Hi, Chunt.
Hey.
You're not Chunt. Don't say hey back.
Why not?
I don't know.
I don't look like a badger. Oh, great. Now the other cat is looking. For those of you who don't remember the last show, my one cat came down and puked on camera. Yeah.
Everything.
And I just looked upstairs, and the other cat, he was peeking.
I thought it was really, really interesting how his head spun around in a complete 360-degree circle as he was vomiting. That's pretty impressive.
When he did actually vomit, did you see how his eyes go across and he hops backwards?
Right. It went everywhere.
Yeah. So, anyways, on today's show, we are not talking about anything that we have talked about in the last 3 minutes or so. We're actually going to be talking about Star Wars.
Da 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 da.
So, let's see. Last Jedi, I want to say it just came out on DVD, didn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
It's been out for a while. We've had reports that we finally have trailers for Solo.
Yep.
When's that coming out? Is that this summer?
Pretty soon, I think.
Do you want to look it up, or do you want me to?
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
You look it up.
You talk.
So, basically, yeah, we saw Last Jedi at Christmas time. Solo's getting ready to come out. Star Wars.
May 25th.
Star Wars Rebels just wrapped up its finale run.
So by the time that this actually gets out there, Solo may have already came out, or will probably be.
It's like a month and a half away, man.
Yeah, I should have this edited by then.
I would hope so.
Okay.
We'll see how many season 3 a-holes I can throw in here to increase your editing time.
Great. Wonderful.
Nothing but love, buddy. So we really haven't tackled Star Wars very much on the show at all.
No.
We had at one time like a 4-episode arc to go through, all the sets of trilogies and the expanded universe and whatnot.
Yeah, you had a whole plan of...
I have a whole master plan of going through Star Wars, and we're not Star Wars guys nearly as much as we are the other harder science fiction.
Yeah, I would say I like Star Wars. It's not my go-to.
Right.
I'm not one of those people that sets my watch by what's going on, but I've seen it, most of it. I mean, the only thing I haven't really seen is the animated stuff.
Right. Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels.
I did see that they
I don't know what you're talking about. Star Wars consists of 3 movies from 1978 to 1982 with one bad holiday special and a couple of Ewoks cartoons. That's it. That's all there is.
That would make you a
Wars.
real Star Wars fan.
Right. That's all there is.
No, I did see they Rebels wrapped up, and they wrapped up with time travel.
They gave the access to time travel for one episode. They brought Ahsoka, or I think that's her name.
Yeah, Anakin's
apprentice, kind of snatched her out of time and brought her forward, and shut that avenue off completely.
What's the next animated series they do, you think?
I think there's a good possibility for a couple of Rebels spin-offs. They have some characters there that could go do some other stuff.
You think it's... what I meant more is, you think it'll be like, kind of in between the original trilogy? Because they were coming up on the beginning of the first trilogy.
Yeah, they tied basically straight into, Rogue One and...
Yeah.
And and they've actually taken some of the Rebels characters and put them post Return of the Jedi.
Probably in
Could go
between
either way.
Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. I mean, that's probably the most logical place for it, right? Unless it wasn't
kind of depends on what they want to do with Rian Johnson, who from here on out I'll just refer to as he whose name shall not be spoken. And what they do with the trilogy, the separate standalone trilogy that he's going to run. They'll probably want to do some tie-in prequel work for that.
But didn't somebody say they wanted to do a TV series based on the
live-action TV series,
the Old Republic or something?
I think the live-action TV series is going to go to Disney streaming service.
Oh, okay.
That they're going to start in, to rival Netflix.
Yay, another streaming service I get to pay for.
With exclusive content.
Yeah, of course. Anyways, so to kind of get into this, Justin and I, we did go see Last Jedi back in December. Since then, you had, like you said, Rebels wrapped up. You had the announcement of a new trilogy. You had
Red Solo Cup.
Solo go from being directed by some dude that wanted to make it an Ace Ventura style movie.
Well, Chris Lord and Phil Miller, the guy who did the Lego Movie, and
didn't someone say something about they wanted it to be Ace Ventura-esque or something?
Well, no. What they said was that the lead character, his performance as Han Solo was very much the closest parallel they could draw was to Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura.
Okay, because I knew that was in there somewhere. But anyways, they bring in Ron Howard to try and salvage this thing.
Right, which by all reports, they have.
You hope. So I guess the question here is for you, do you want to go down the realm of, do you want to talk about Last Jedi, or do you want to talk about the saturation of Star Trek in our world?
Star Trek.
Or Star Wars, excuse me.
We can do both, as far as I'm concerned. I think
I just want to know where you want to start.
I think they both have systemic problems that lead into each other. So let's start with Last Jedi.
Okay.
So we got, the brand new continuation trilogy that was supposed to make everybody happy and wrap up the story, and J.J. Abrams did it, and J.J. is a very good director. He's, I quite frankly enjoy with a few glaring issues, but I enjoy the new Star Trek stuff. I think he's done a wonderful job. My main complaint with that was he tried to make Star Trek into Star Wars. Mm-hmm. He got his crack at Star Wars. I think he did a fantastic job, but he didn't move much of the story along. He did a lot of setup work.
And you're referring to Force Awakens.
Yes, I'm referring to Force Awakens. He did a lot of setup work. He didn't tie much story together.
No, that movie was to give them a platform. Well, yeah, to kill Han Solo, but otherwise it was meant to pay fan service.
Yep.
And it was meant to give them a platform to jump off.
Right.
And then we get Last Jedi, which the dude that directed it,
Rian Johnson, however you say his name,
and wrote the story for this.
He shall not be named.
It's like he took the book that they were like, "Hey, here's everything we're gonna do. Go ahead. I don't want to do any of this."
Right.
And much like Luke throws the lightsaber over his head.
Right.
I don't understand the world we're living in. And this kind of goes back to the same thing as we talked about in the last episode with Star Trek stuff. I don't understand what you're doing.
Make something different if you don't like what it is. Don't change what it is into what you think it should be.
Or in really even the it goes into kind of like what Justice League is doing. I don't understand what you're trying to point us at, because everything you pointed us at in Force Awakens with the lightsaber meaning more than it's supposed to, with, what's her name?
Maz Kanata.
Somehow having this thing with
Rey hearing Obi-Wan down through the ages.
Yeah. With, all of this other stuff and, I don't know. It's just, you get to the next movie, he throws a lightsaber over his head, they destroy the lightsaber.
The only person that comes back, Yoda comes back to talk to, spoiler alert, Yoda comes back to talk to Luke and doesn't talk to Rey at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no continuation of the whatever it is down the line.
He makes the joke about, the page turners there or not.
Yep.
And he says that, Rey has all the, everything she needs to be a great Jedi.
Right.
So...
Which then later it shows the books on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. And, so you don't need to train to use a lightsaber?
Apparently not.
Okay.
And the subtext and what's been explained later is that, when Rey had the mystical connection with Kylo Ren, or as I like to call him, Ben Swolo, that she picked up all this, education and knowledge about how to use her powers and this, that, and the other out of his mind because they were connected. Sloppy telly, storytelling, horse shit is what I call that.
Oh, and by the way, our bad guy that we're setting up, Snoke, well, let's just murder him.
Yeah. We're gonna
big deal.
We're gonna completely...
Like, do you understand what I'm saying, though? That I don't know what they're pointing at?
You feel like that The Last Jedi was simply somebody to come in and say, I'm going to take Star Wars and make it edgy.
I guess.
If
you even could call it that.
Right. I'm going to take everything you're expecting and do the exact opposite. It's like it's a petulant child with a toy to play with.
Oh, and we're going to have Luke milk a weird animal.
Right. And have a weird haircut or a weird dye job at the end, and the whole thing. I am not in the camp that tell you it was visionary and that it was wonderful and it was the best movie ever. Okay, here's the thing. I was born in 1980. I grew up as a small child with Star Wars. Star Wars 1. Just 1978 Star Wars, because A New Hope didn't get tacked on till later. I'm speaking directly now. That was a classic, hero's journey. You had a young man, a wise mentor, a roguish helper, and he went on a quest.
And he had a sword.
He had a sword, and he rescued a princess. It's the classic, hero's journey. We subverted that a little bit in Empire Strikes Back, and we went. But even Empire Strikes Back, I can take my 5-year-old daughter and show her New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. It has clear story. It doesn't have murky morals. And here's what I got. I can do that again. We can talk crap about the Phantom Menace all day long, but I can show it to my 5-year-old.
No,
it's a good kid story, and. I'm sorry, the people who were Star Wars fans in 1978 that were 15 to 30 years old are now older, and they might have a pessimistic worldview, and we might need to crank up the crap that it turned out, but those are still kids movies. I'm sorry, so you're still making it to a certain extent just because the original audience has gotten older. The movies didn't have to get dark and reflect a worldview with them. I can show The Phantom Menace to my 5-year-old. I can show Attack of the Clones, not that I'd want to. Revenge of the Sith gets a little dark. Anakin, you were my brother. I have the high ground. Charred corpse, whatever. A little dark, but I can still mostly show all those 6 movies.
Hold on, you're saying what about the murdering of the kids?
Yeah, good point.
You kind of skipped over that.
Right.
Like, you made it all the way to the end of
Honey,
Revenge of the Sith.
Honey, go get me some popcorn for the next couple of minutes. But
no, you can.
I can, especially the first three. I can show her those. Okay. I cannot resolve, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. So it's maybe not as clear and cut as a nice little monologue would like it to be, but I cannot resolve in my brain the Luke Skywalker that redeemed Anakin Skywalker, who as Darth Vader had committed countless atrocities, and he never stopped believing that there was good in him, and won that victory with one who 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later has turned into, for whatever reason, we don't see any reason for him to have turned into a teacher who would murder a student in his sleep because of the strength of his connection to the Force. I can't resolve those two people. They're not the same people.
I can understand that.
I don't know why he needed to turn Luke Skywalker into a failure. Maybe it's because if you have Luke Skywalker, you don't need new, younger people. I don't know.
You know what? I think it's one of those things. The reason they had to do that was to set up the evilness of Ben Solo in his conversion in the Kylo Ren. But in the whole world of Star Wars, you didn't need to do that. You just needed him to be tempted by the dark side and do something,
Because you had, to an extent, black and white morality. You still bought into the black and white morality worldview, that you can be redeemed maybe, but you can't be forgiven. I mean, Anakin knew even if he came back to the light side, he could never be forgiven.
Yeah.
But he could come back, which is why his inclusion as a Force ghost, kind of doesn't really work for me. But, whatever, it is what it is. That being said, what you just did was you just told Ben Solo, well, it's not your fault. It's all Luke's fault that you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
None of this is your fault. You're still okay. You can kind of be the good. It's not your fault.
Oh, here's a trophy for trying.
Hey, Snowflake, you're okay.
It does. You know what? When you put it like that, I never really even thought about it like that until now. That it is kind of that millennial story.
Right.
It's not Ben's fault. It's Luke's fault.
Right. We point one bad thing and allow that to define his life. Okay, granted, his uncle tried to kill him.
Yeah.
But again, I can't resolve that Luke Skywalker.
How
do you get to that point as Luke Skywalker?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's sloppy. It's just bad storytelling.
It's bad. It is. That guy decided that he wanted to tell this story, and then figured out how he got there from there. He didn't take where everything was and tell his story. He said, "Okay, this is the story I want to tell. Luke's got to die. I'm gonna put Kylo and Rey together and make this weird, quasi sibling, quasi sexual, quasi incestual relationship." Because we haven't had enough of that in Star Wars. We're gonna subvert. We're gonna take everything that JJ did with Snoke and crap all over that, and just brush that aside. And the whole I'm gonna toss the lightsaber.
What was the point of her having a vision of?
Mark Hamill and I don't agree on much, but we do agree on the treatment of Luke Skywalker, and that I, too, fundamentally disagree with every choice that Rian Johnson made for that character.
I just don't get it, man. I just, it's that same thing of, like I said, with the Justice League, with, this story. Who's ringing?
I'm buzzing.
Okay. I don't know what direction you're going, because every time you set it up for something, you decide to change it to something completely different.
Right.
And you know what? Good storytelling is going back to that simple structure that the original Star Wars series had. And maybe that's why I don't think a lot of these stories are that great, is because those were simple. Those were, hey, Luke good, Vader evil.
Right.
Good Luke being tempted by evil Vader.
Right.
You throw in the family issues and all
Right.
that, but it eventually all goes back to, hey, it's good versus evil.
Right. Instead, in the middle of a hyperspace chase, our two heroes will run to a casino planet where the girl that we've never seen before will give one of our heroes a lecture on casinos and the evils and the dangers of people who make money, an indictment of the capitalist system, and let's throw in environmental messages about these weird crystal foxes that nobody's ever seen before as well. Let's stop the action while we do that.
Yeah, that was weird. That part of that movie made no sense.
Look, if you want to do that, don't do that in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Go make another movie. If you don't like what it is, don't do that. Star Trek Discovery, like we talked about last show. If you don't like if you want to tell this story, tell it in a different venue.
Yeah.
If you want to tell a story about, capitalist bad and environmental silver foxes, go make a movie about these silver crystal foxes that live on this planet that's ruined by capitalism. Go tell that story. Don't put that in the middle of a Star Wars. I love that just sprayed you in the face.
That's what she said.
And that your Coke got all over you. Thank you for breaking the tension there.
No problem. No, I go back to that movie, and there's just, we were jokingly talking about all the tactical errors you could make, or do a show just about that, which
Yes.
I do think we should do at some
Right.
point. Well, you have, that level of stupidity in that movie. You have the capitalist message that's bad. You had, you take the hero of a generation, Luke Skywalker. That was,
Right.
For a lot of people, my age and, a little older, a little younger, he was the hero.
Right. Can I sum up a little bit? Okay, you want to see the short-sightedness of the movie The Last Jedi. If you're running at sublight speeds, okay, and you can't catch somebody who's also running at sublight speeds, and you have a hyperdrive, you leave especially when you have a fleet chasing. You leave half the fleet. Or since they had that gigantic ass Star Destroyer,
How come they just didn't turn it sideways and clip it with a wing?
You leave everybody else chasing those ships, which you could track through hyperspace anyway, so it doesn't matter if they go ahead and jump. So you pin them down with half those ships. You take your one gigantic ass ship, pull up, make a hyperspace jump 10 light years ahead, turn around, and jump back 7 light years. And wait.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
I just
Also,
go.
Bombs don't fall down in space. There's no gravity.
Might be magnetic.
There was no indication of magnets, and the magnets would have stuck.
I'm just being
to
the Star Wars
right.
guy.
Bombs don't fall in space.
Why is it? And this will probably be brought up in the tactical show at some
Right.
point. How come all the good people's maneuvers are to slightly veer off course just a little bit? It happened with the Millennium Falcon. It happened with
oh no, he's listing slightly to port.
yeah, and then Carrie Underwood, Carrie Fisher.
Jesus took the wheel.
Yeah, it is almost like that. But there was hey, we're gonna have some shuttles just veer off,
Right.
and no one's gonna see it.
Right.
Okay, how about this? How about we have a droid fly that ship into the other ship at light speed?
Exactly.
That could be, they could do that.
Right.
I don't
Instead
know.
of the hotness that is Laura Dern.
You think she's good looking?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
She's a good looking older lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the best, but not the worst. Purple hair,
Yeah.
carpet match drapes.
Ooh.
You think it does? What was going on with Princess Leia flying through space like Mary Poppins?
Though Yondu is the only Mary Poppins at all recognized at this point. So that was supposed to be a force pull.
Yeah, I get that, but still.
Right. That was crap. Quite frankly, that was crap. Because I remember looking at you saying, "Did we just see the death of Princess Leia. You know,
she should have died right there, right?
Looking back, you know, now knowing, you know, that
she has officially passed away.
That we lost Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
They could have, what little she did left, they could have actually come in, and that would have been a far more. I mean, yeah, it's a bit abrupt, but they were in the middle of a space battle. For if Kylo Ren to have killed both of his parents right there.
Yeah.
But again, I think that would have put him. I think the last thing that he wanted to do, somehow he wants to take Rian Johnson wants to take Kylo Ren and make him the hero of the story somehow, and that would have put him past redemption. I think, right? I really think that his goal was to make him somehow the hero of the story. Yes, they should have killed Princess Leia right there. The little bit of contribution that she made to the rest of the story, which was we had a plan and we didn't tell you anything about it, could have been
severe slightly port.
Right. I mean, send off to veer slightly port. Exactly. You're veering slightly left.
That's it. God bless you, Family Guy, for coming up with that. But I don't know. I don't want to see Kylo Ren as the hero. I don't even really like Rey, to be honest with you.
No.
There's no part of her that's interesting.
No, not at all.
I know people are all about, oh, well, her parents are going to be someone important. Yeah, that's her parents. Her, I don't know who she is.
And I have a question. Why were we supposed to be moved by the silver fox girl sacrificing herself after an hour of screen time to save the one guy who was actually going to make a sacrifice and save the day by Finn running himself into there? She crashes in the ship and knocks it off and ensures the destruction of the base and the end of the rebellion.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't even know who that lady was. I thought she was someone, you know, really important.
No.
At one point, I had no idea who she was.
No, she was like a maintenance tech that he picked up at the beginning and for some reason tagged along.
Oh wait, are we talking about who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the
not Laura Dern.
No. The gal that went with Finn to the casino planet.
Rose.
As he's trying to crash himself into the thing and save everybody, she knocks him out of the way, thus ensuring that the base is obliterated and the rebellion is destroyed. Congratulations, you just did the well, that's not the Empire, the First Order a favor. Good job. It's war. Sacrifices have to be made.
I will say when Luke is projecting himself, which, I guess that's how the Force works. That part was pretty awesome.
That's the only cool part of that whole thing.
And that whip around he did
right
when he's fighting Kylo.
Right. A couple of good moves. What the hell was up with the dye job, though?
I don't know.
Luke Skywalker's never had black hair.
And what about the dice?
Right?
Hey, here's a really obscure piece of background information. Right. We'll just throw that in there. No big deal.
And in the original cut, he didn't even bother to say anything to 3PO.
Yeah.
I mean, first Leia doesn't hug Chewie in the Force. Are they showing these movies to anybody before they release them? Seriously?
I don't know, but the more we, the 30 minutes or so we've talked about this, I keep going. I'm just thinking how bad Last Jedi is.
Yes. But, I mean, okay, going forward.
I didn't think we'd have this much of a conversation about Last Jedi itself.
Right.
Especially being that it's, been 4 or 5 months ago since it came out. But Jesus, I forgot how bad that movie is.
So, I mean, okay, for episode 9, JJ's taken back over.
Okay.
Which I gotta say, I kind of think that JJ, as much as they've tried to positively spin The Last Jedi and get defensive about the people who didn't like it, and who have said people who say what we're saying, I've heard them called everything from, well, one bad word to another bad word to...
Well, that's fine. I didn't like your movie.
Right. And basically... I've seen people who espouse the same opinions that you and I have about, simply the fact that, Luke Skywalker wouldn't have done that to, people getting called horrible names on the internet, which I guess, go nuts. But do you think that Lucasfilm kind of said, oh my God, people hated this movie. JJ, save it. Fix it.
I want to doubt it. I really want it. I as much as Disney is about entertaining people, they're more about making money.
Right.
And in this situation where you have people, just a little bit question whether or not they like the movie, I mean, I don't think people are going to go back and say, I don't know. Would you put it on the same level as the prequels? Because the reason I say that is because
I like The Phantom Menace more than I like The Last Jedi. I've said it in public. There it is.
Okay. But what I'm saying is Disney wasn't at the wheel at that point.
Right.
They're not going to live in a world where something is going to get blasted or not make them money. Right.
Oh, I think it's made them a ton of money.
I just want to see, you know what I want to see? You know what I wanted to see with The Last Jedi? I wanted to see...
This is going to make my shameless plug really ironic
okay.
at the end.
I wanted to see Luke train, maybe, give her a hard time and not accept her immediately, much like what happened.
Right.
I wanted to see him eventually start training her.
Right.
I wanted to see her be tempted,
right.
Kind of like she was.
Right.
Parts of the story aren't bad.
Right.
But I wanted to see the fan service stuff where Luke shows up and, goes toe-to-toe with Kylo.
Right.
And we see a lightsaber fight like we haven't seen in a long time.
See, and I honestly figured that if they were really going to take Luke out, that Luke was going to, Luke was going to be the guy who got on the massive Star Destroyer that Snoke was on, and instead of pulling a Ben Kenobi where he sacrificed himself and didn't take out Vader, that Luke was going to take out Snoke and the ship and, mutual annihilation, and leave Rey to finish up with Kylo or something like that. That's how I thought Luke would go out.
I didn't want to see him be whiny and bitchy and old.
Right.
And drinking green milk.
Right. And the only reason he didn't go direct from the teat is because she was there.
Yeah. Oh boy. So anyways,
sounds like some tentacle porn, doesn't it?
I was trying to figure out if we could put in Chris Pine in there somewhere with the Ryan Slave Girls, but I don't know if we can get 3 in there.
Yeah, I think the trifecta, I don't think we're going to pull it off.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just I wish I knew where they were going, because it seems like every time they try and take a step in a certain direction. Right. And listen, going back, I thought Rogue One was the best one that's come out in a while, simply because it was an original story.
Right.
It had a little bit of fan service in there.
Right.
But it was an original story. It had original people. And,
right.
It didn't leave a lot of, could Rey's parents be intergalactic hookers that left her on a planet that doesn't believe in hooking, or something like that. I don't know. You didn't have a whole lot of that with the original movies. I don't think there wasn't a whole lot of. You knew. Well, let me put it like this. You knew that. After seeing Star Wars, you knew that if there was going to be a sequel, people could put together that at some point Luke and Vader are going to go head to head.
Right.
I don't think anybody really guessed that Vader was his father.
Except for, the Swedish people, because Darth Vader is Dark Father.
Yeah, exactly. But you knew that it was going to be good and evil coming to a head at some point. There wasn't this thing of, Luke might be the chosen one or, anything like that. It was good versus evil. It was a simple story. The prequels, for better or worse, you knew that it was leading up to Anakin turning into Darth Vader.
Right. There was no happy ending there. We all knew it.
Yeah,
it was just how he did it.
Yeah, that's what we were waiting for. There was no good versus evil. There was good succumbing or switching to evil.
Right. The only problem with the prequels is they tried to do too much too quick. They spent way too much time on him as a little kid, establishing all that. They should have picked up with number one with him, maybe 20 minutes of backstory about how they found him as a kid. Him starting off as a Padawan in there, and slowly been able to show that descent instead of, hey, I'm a Jedi Knight and I'm a good guy. 5 minutes later, I'm murdering children.
Yeah. But
no remorse.
But if you look at those two trilogies, there it is.
Right.
Sorry, I couldn't think of what the word was. You look at those two trilogies, it's pretty simple to know what they're about. What the three movies are about. It's one is becoming Darth Vader, and the other is Luke.
The redemption of the whole thing is the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, and for better for worse, and I've said a lot of about George Lucas over the years. No matter who was writing them, no matter who was, you had it over the overarching, veto power and storytelling of George Lucas, who knew, what those characters were and what he wanted them to do.
Yeah.
And now you have
that's the thing.
Him out of there completely.
What I'm saying, so you have those simple ideas in there that what those trilogies are about.
Right.
This one, I think what's hurting this new trilogy is we're trying to do too much. Oh, this is mysterious.
Right.
Is Rey the chosen one? Who were her parents? Who were the Knights of Ren?
They go meep, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I'm saying?
It's a Monty Python and the Holy Grail reference for those of you playing along at home.
But you look at these movies and it's just
that would have made the movie if Snoke had just laughed it off and says, "'Tis only a flesh wound."
Yeah. But Snoke, who is he? Where did he come from? Why is he evil? How did he get his claws into Ben Solo?
Right.
What happened to Luke's school? You've got. I think it's almost too complicated of a story.
Well, and we just said, well, we're just taking a giant dump on all that anyway and wiping it aside with no closure.
It's like.
You said it perfectly earlier, Chekhov's gun. If there's a gun hanging on the wall, somebody better fire it.
Yeah.
And we just have random crap splattered all over that nobody's doing. Nobody's using.
Yeah.
We're just setting up dead ends.
It should be about, there should be one thing. It should, if you're going to call the first one The Force Awakens, then it better by God end with the Jedi Order being reestablished.
Right. Or the third one better be from his nap.
All right.
Oh.
God, Brockmar. All right. I think that pretty much covers it, don't you?
I think so.
Okay. We had fun talking about Star Wars today and all their infinite just douchery.
Right. JJ, fix it, please. Thanks, buddy.
Or just end it.
Yeah, just put it out of its misery, one of the two.
It was a twofer.
It was a good round.
So.
Shameless plug?
Yeah, in just a second.
Okay.
We're 151. We are presented by Skeleton Vineyards. You can find out more about them online at skeletonwine.com or on their Facebook page at Skeleton Vineyards. As for us, we are 151. You can find us, 151theshow.com. We'll take you right to our Podbean page, which we hope you just subscribe to. We're also on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Apparently, we're not using Tumblr anymore, but it's there if you want to, at 151 The Show. And we can't end without a shameless plug.
Cue the music!
All right, friends, this is the part of the show where we shamelessly plug something. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a movie theater. It could be a style of food. It could be a lunchbox. It could be whatever you want. Justin, please go.
Have we done food yet? I'd like to
I was actually...
egg salad sandwich.
If we were going to do a fourth show today, I had one I was going to do.
Well, ironically, my shameless plug for the day is Disneyland.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I recently got to visit Disneyland at the end of February, beginning of March. I had a work trip out to Anaheim.
How do you still have a house?
What?
Did you lose your shirt going out to that place?
Right.
It's just a tad expensive nowadays, isn't it?
It's gotten a little bit expensive, but they have and the reason that I want to talk about it in relation to this is because the amount of superheroes, and since they've taken over Marvel, and we got to meet Spider-Man and what they're doing with the Star Wars stuff, Star Tours, and they've got a whole exhibit set up where they used to have the future exhibits to Star Wars. You can go in and meet Vader and Chewbacca.
Yeah.
I will have to say, and the construction of Star Wars Land happening right now, they are really, really cranking it up when it comes to Marvel and Star Wars and making that a fun and interactive experience out there. So, yes, it is expensive. Yes, I did pay like $8 for 3 ounces of popcorn at one point in time to go on Small World. But it is just an absolute, especially if you have small children, it is fantastic.
You were out in California for that one, weren't
Yes.
you? Did you go down to, what is it, Club 21 or?
Club 33.
Is that it? Their exclusive club or whatever?
You can't get in there. I
know,
I know where the door is.
That's what I was asking.
I know where the door is in the New Orleans part over by the Haunted Mansion. I know where it is, but yeah, I have my picture with the door.
See, that's what I was kind of.
Yep. I have a picture from the last time I was there, actually, at the door to Club 33 or 31 or whatever it is. Yeah.
I'd like to go see that.
Well, you can't get in. It's like $20,000 and you have to be invited. But,
I am saying the door.
Right. The door is pretty cool.
Dude. At what point before the season started did you go, you know what, asshole is the way I want to go this year?
Actually, I mentioned it to Sheena the other day.
Really?
I'm like, maybe my character should be an asshole this year.
Yeah? What'd she say? How's that different than any other day? Or?
Pretty much.
Okay, just making sure.
Pretty much.
So Disneyland, huh?
Disneyland.
You ever been to Disney World?
I have not.
Really? See, I've never been to Disneyland, but I've been to Disney World.
Right.
I've been backstage at Disney World.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you get lost as a child?
No, we were performing there.
Oh.
We went on we took a band trip down there.
Oh.
And I got to march in the one of the parades.
Yep.
And play jazz band music.
Ooh.
At the Magic Kingdom.
Nice.
Yeah. First place I ever did marching band was at Adventureland, and the last place I ever marched was at Disney World. So
wow, that's quite the upgrade.
yeah, a little bit of symmetry there.
Right.
So well, that's cool. Good for you.
So thanks. This has been 151 the show.
That felt like it just needed a good dramatic pause there.
Right.
All right. That's going to do it for us. We will see you next time. And don't forget to head over to 151theshow.com and check out Skeleton Vineyards. Goodbye.
Bye.